Beth Parsons is preparing to be frightened out of her very wits. Beth, it's all yours.
Yes, you join us here on a dark October night where the devils plot and the vampires, well, they bite. There are ghosts inside Bertree Country House and they'll creep up on you quiet as a mouse. Why don't you come and take a look inside? You cannot run and you cannot hide. Richard is a fitter's mate. Today he's building ventilation units in Bradford. He's been in the job for 6 years. Shortly before that, he was released from prison.
I should have gone and got a job then, but I didn't. I was more worried about messing about with my friends and I'm from an estate. You know, there's not a lot to do for kids. Well, they want. I don't know about now, but there's not a lot of stuff to do, so you just get mixed up with the wrong crowd, don't you?
He says he got little support after release.
Probation can only do so much, can't they? But they can't go out and get you a job, can they, or an interview?
Richard got in touch with the Leeds-based charity Tempus Novo. Founders Val and Steve had both worked around 30 years as prison officers previously.
After meeting these lads, thousands and thousands of them over the years, I used to say to them, you come into prison, you go into the hot, sweaty kitchens, you do 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, why can't you do that on the out? And the stock answer I was receiving was, well, to be honest, I cannot get a job for loving the money because of my record. Hi everybody, you alright?
Hi, morning.
With a vacancy come up, and I'm just wondering if you've got anybody who's ready to go.
We've got quite a few to choose from actually.
We went out to local employers and asked them, if we put a support package in place, would you be willing to take on an ex-offender? And we support them for 12 months, both yourselves and the lads and lasses themselves. And to our astonishment, we got quite a few positive feedbacks from that. And then we started placing people.
When you're working with ex-offenders, it's difficult to empathise with some types of crime, but when you see that the majority have actually ended up in crime through poor circumstances and a bad start, then most humans can empathise with that, and so I wanted to do something about it. There were a lot of money invested in training and education and other support networks, but nothing where a job was concerned.
The charity, which is based here at Leeds Prison, operates predominantly as pro bono or through donations. But a new partnership with Sheffield Hallam University is hoping to change that.
We're hoping to achieve two things. So one is to help Tempus Novo develop a sort of sustainable fee model. And the second goal is to help Tempus Novo to expand. So currently they have this Leeds operation, which is very successful. And in the medium term, they want to grow to 5 other places.
So the important part is these fire dampers.
Richard is one of nearly 900 ex-offenders that have been helped into work by the charity.
They got me an interview, they got me on the ladder, you know, they gave me a chance. That's what they did practically. Amazing, really. You don't have to look over your shoulder, you know. I can do what I want, you know. I can afford to do stuff. My kids are happy, my missus is happy, family's proud of me now, you know.
Any business would be proud to have somebody like Richard on board. He's just switched on and he wants it and he cares. As a business we care, but it's also important that our staff also care too.
We looked at the most recent 100 people we'd placed into employment and 21 of them had been promoted. So it just shows by giving someone a chance who probably don't expect it, they pay you back big time with working hard and being loyal.
Beth Parsons, BBC Let North. Today is only the first day of Leeds Fest, so we will see if these new safety measures can put a halt to further festival tragedies. Now, it's not only festival organisers that are responsible for the security and safety of the 80,000 or so people that are expected here over the weekend. Police have also been changing how they're using resources. And earlier on, I spoke to DCI Phil Jackson from West Yorkshire Police about what they're doing differently as well for 2023.
This is a well-organised event with security. We have policing obviously in the event inside and out. We'll see more uniform presence now outside and at the security gates, but also in and around all the neighbourhoods and the traffic plan. But also we have people within the festival as well from our CID and plainclothes department.
We have talked to the dad of David Cellino, who was 16 years old. He died at the festival last year after taking MDMA, and he described this as a magnet for drugs. What would you say to him saying that?
It's not a magnet for drugs, but there are drugs here, and I think, you know, the white elephant in the room, you know, at the inquest last week, you know, was discussed openly. So, but what we need to do is educate people. We need to make sure that people understand that taking illicit substances is illegal. We shouldn't be doing it. But if people do take it, then they need to understand that where the medical facilities are, who they can turn to, and the fact that if they do feel unwell, it's not normal, and to get medical help, not leave it too late, that unfortunately some people do.
Phil Jackson, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Claude has a passion for plants.
I think we're at a place where there's a bit of urban magic happening.
He's the head of landscaping at the Climate Innovation District in Leeds, an eco-friendly housing development in the city centre near the river.
I've always tried to incorporate edibles into the wider landscape. Your culinary herbs, rosemary, thyme, sage, chives, in a constant supply on site, and that was always the intention, to grow it in abundance. And then on top of that, there's seasonal stuff, your cabbages, cucumbers, pumpkins. We should have some garlic, I think, just about to come out from last year.
The gardening club of the so-called secret garden there mingles flowers with fruit and blends evergreens with edible greens.
Most things are dotted around and mixed up so that it's a surprise and think, oh, I'll have a bit of that.
Elsewhere in West Yorkshire, Bradford is home to multiple grow-your-own projects that are looked after by the whole community. Like this one on Lister Avenue, and this one on Bradford Moor, which was a dumping ground until the residents there transformed not only the space, but how they use it.
It wasn't in a good state. It was literally just overgrown grass and loads of building material and junk. But now we've managed to develop it. The land is actually owned by the council. We've got responsibility, so Bradford Moor Pass has got responsibility over the land. But this is a community space.
We've got a lot of fruit trees, so we've got fig trees, apple trees, plum trees, pear trees, herbs, mint, parsley, coriander. Every month we have a barbecue or a community meal, and everybody from the local community is invited. Living in Bradford Moor, I mean, if you just scan the camera around and look, our gardens are, you know, 1 metre square, 2 metres square, small pieces of land in front of our house. We have a lot of families that are struggling, that are, you know, at present, and they can come and help themselves to whatever is growing here.
Christian isn't his real name, but this is a very real story.
They just didn't care. They didn't care what happened to us.
What he thought was going to be a move to the UK for a career in the care industry turned into a journey into the world of modern slavery. He was approached by an agency in his home country in Africa who said for a fixed fee they'd get him a work visa, flights, accommodation, sponsorship and a job.
We were told we were going to be paid £21,216. That would be roughly about 4 times what I've made annually in my home country.
But it wasn't that simple. After paying, he was charged an extra £10,000 and was told if he didn't pay, they'd cancel his visa and he wouldn't get any money back. He agreed and started work as a carer, with £10,000 worth of debt to the agency. It was at this point he realised something wasn't right.
I was working roughly 12, 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. For my first month, I got paid £129. That was after my deductions.
These deductions included things like ground rent on property they were supposed to get for free, cleaning charges despite having to do the cleaning themselves, and solicitor fees. Christian worked for the agency for 8 months, and like his colleagues who were in similar circumstances, it begun to take its toll.
So many nights I had to just pick myself up by myself. There's no one to turn to, you're literally on your own. I started breaking down, so I used to get sick, I get fever. It was exhausting.
Earlier this year, police arrived to his shared house in the middle of the night. He left with them and got out. He's now being supported by Causeway, a national charity based in Yorkshire. They say that last year, over 17,000 people in the UK were referred as possible victims. That number's rising and includes both British and foreign workers. But why the care industry?
Last year in February, the government listed care workers as a skills shortage within this country. Now what that means is it allows agencies to recruit from overseas in order to fill this much needed skills shortage. It's a significantly rising issue that doesn't show any signs of reducing anytime soon.
We approached the government about the issue, and in a statement, the Home Office said they strongly condemn offering visa holders employment under false pretences. The government does not tolerate illegal activity in the labour market, and any accusations of illegal employment practices will be thoroughly looked into. Despite everything, Christian still wants to be a carer in the UK, but has this message to people who may still be stuck in the world of modern slavery.
If there's any way for you to find help, I would encourage you to find help, because it's not going to change.
Beth Parsons, BBC Look North. Stainforth Force, a hot spot to see salmon at this time of year. People have been coming here to catch a glimpse of the migration for decades, even before it was possible to film it on a smartphone.
It's just incredible when you think about the journey that they do, and it's amazing they can get across these falls the way that they do to spawn. Fantastic.
We've been coming here for about 20 years now. We come every year to try and see them.
A long time ago you saw quite a few, but these days it's a lot less.
The salmon spotted here came from the Irish Sea, entering the Ribble River near Preston and travelling an exhausting 65 miles upstream until they reached their goal. Adam Wheeler and Adam Walmsley both work for the Ribble Rivers Trust, and they work hard on trying to keep the river healthy. They say they both still look forward to the migration every single year.
The salmon have come from the sea, where they've spent 1 to 4 years. They've had to travel fighting against the currents. They've had to navigate man-made structures. They've had to dodge predators. Within the river system, they don't tend to eat at all. And then when they're migrating, they use about 70% of their energy reserves to try and get to their spawning locations.
Last year, the Environment Agency said that the number of Atlantic salmon in UK rivers was the lowest on record, and that echoes what the Trust has been researching too. A decade ago, there were 20 times more salmon in the River Ribble than there are today. But work is being done to help. They worked with farmers and local people to try and keep the water as clear as possible, as well as trying to remove blockages like this one.
One of the main risks that they face is artificial barriers to their movement. There's many types of barriers, but most of them are weirs, so they're artificial dams essentially that have been put across the river to impede the flow and perhaps to harness the power of the water. So a lot of them were put in during the Industrial Revolution for mills, and some of them were put in for abstraction of water for reservoirs as well.
Fish passes, or fish ladders like this one further downstream in Settle, help make the journey easier. Back to Stainforth Force, it's been a long adventure. Only 10% of the fish that set off actually make it here to the breeding grounds, and sadly many of them will die from exhaustion, but not before laying their eggs, leaving behind the next generation of salmon to be hatched here in the Ribble River. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Settle. But today they've come donned in their England shirts, and with 3 of the super Lioness fans here. I've got Mila, Ophelia and Amelie. A big hello. Hello! Now, it's kick-off tomorrow at 11:30 when England are going to take on Colombia. How many of the games have you already watched?
Quite a few.
Quite a few, and they were on very early, weren't they? Because Australia's on the other side of the world. Did you have to set alarms and things to get up that early?
I didn't really have the alarm, but sometimes Daddy had to wake me up. And I think England's going to win for sure.
I think they're going to win for sure as well. Now, have you heard of Rachel Daly before?
Yeah.
And how do you feel knowing that you play on the same pitch as she did when she was your age?
I feel very, confident and amazing, and it blows my mind.
Does it blow your mind? What do you think your predictions are for the game tomorrow? What do you think?
10-0.
10-0? What do you think?
11.
11? What are Colombia going to get?
11-0.
11-0. And you?
6-0.
6-0. Well, there's some very confident predictions here. And of course, you could be following in Rachel's footsteps. Would you like to be footballers when you're older?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I think the only thing left to say here, we're going to hand it over to you 3 to say a very good very, very big goodbye in a very special football style. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Off you go, ladies.
Come on, England!
For such purposes, today's report isn't going to be done on 2 feet. It's instead going to be done on 2 wheels. The first thing that you will need is the app. Choose your ticket type, tap to unlock, unlocking, and you're good to go. The pay-as-you-ride option costs you £1 plus 16 pence per minute. Now, speed-wise, these things move at no more than 15 miles per hour. As for the rules, helmets and high-vis are advised but not compulsory, and just like a bike, you should be on a cycle lane like this one or the road, not a pavement. When you've finished your journey, return it to the docking station so it can charge up ready for its next ride. And make sure you lock both locks or you'll be charged a tenner for not locking it up safely. There are several docking stations in Headingley where we've been cycling today, but there are plenty more to choose from in Leeds city centre too.
I think it's a really positive thing for Leeds and looking forward to seeing it in action.
They're familiar with kitting people out with e-bikes at this shop in Bramley. But as cyclists, do they think Leeds is prepared?
I'm not sure they've quite devised the road network so that bikes are given the priority that they need. It's actually quite awkward getting around on a bike sometimes. That's coming from a driver and a cyclist perspective. It just doesn't make people more inclined to ride, and I think the idea of a cycle lane is that it needs to be so easy to use that people don't think twice about it.
Leeds Council say they know the cycle network needs to get better and are working hard to improve it. The other concern from people I met today was about potential vandalism to the bikes.
Because you have to use the app to unlock them, they know who's got that bike at that time. That's really good for data collection, but it's also really good for knowing who's got the bike and therefore who's responsible if anything goes wrong with it.
So currently there are around 300 of these in Leeds, but if everything goes well, 600 are promised by March next year. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Start now, are you ready?
Shushma, Raj and Gunwati are ready to move.
We go here.
They're just 3 of more than 1,200 adults over 55 in Leeds and Bradford who have joined in since these dance-on classes begun 5 years ago.
Other side.
Physical exercise is good for everybody. I like to think I've always been doing it, but that's not the case.
We are really thrilled. It is so encouraging to our group. We enjoy it to the best, really.
I am an arthritis patient, and when I move my body, my pain's going to less and circulation is going to better.
And have you noticed it's helped? Has it made a difference?
Yeah, I get a happiness.
One more here.
The classes are run by Yorkshire Dance, and Sophie runs 3 of them a week.
This is like the best job ever because it doesn't feel like work. And from me starting these classes and seeing where people are, so like low moods and coming into class and they might have like a few health conditions that are keeping them, you know, like not having as much mobility. But then I've seen like over time, once they've been doing dancing, I'm not saying it's gone away, but you can see the changes in them, like they maybe carry themselves a little bit better. They're coming into the class with a spring in the step because it's like they're enjoying doing the dancing.
Standing nice and tall if you can now.
And those physical benefits, they're not just anecdotal. Biomedical experts say these sessions are an effective way of reducing the risk of falls and preventing a downward spiral into frailty.
So we know from the evidence and the data that have been gathered by the University of Leeds that dance promotes health and well-being, physical activity, it can improve strength and balance, and also the social aspect of it is really important. As you can see today, it's about connecting with your community and connecting with other older adults.
This group is really doing so well, and we have got a long waiting list.
When you were dancing up there, I saw you singing as well. Is singing allowed in the classes?
I told to Sophia, can I sing? She says yes.
Does Raj have rhythm?
No.
2
left feet. Sorry.
Raj's 2 left feet have never stopped him before, and they're not about to start now. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Hare Hills. This is Tiger. She's 8 years old.
Hello.
Let's go to Malton for this story to unfold. Tiger lives with Chloe, Charlotte and Rebecca, their mummy, and she's recently recovered from a very funny tummy.
She started changing her behaviours really. She started being sick after having food. Then she stopped eating, so it was quite vital that we took her to the vets. They gave her an anti-sickness injection, which stopped her being sick so often. And then she deposited 2 hair bands.
After the injection, Tiger went to the loo and Rebecca spotted 2 hair bubbles in her poo. But it didn't get better, so again the vet they had to call, and it was clearly much more than a measly fur ball.
They just sent her off for an X-ray. It's just a massive clump of hair ties. They were absolutely stunned at how many there actually were. And when they actually phoned me after the surgery, I couldn't quite believe that there was 43. It was quite a spectacular amount, really.
I was stunned to find so many, said the vet, Sarah Ford. But they're out now and she'll recover in the cat hospital ward.
I love you to the moon and back. Get well soon, Tiger.
Complete with a get well soon card or 2, she did recover at home and now feels good as new. To make sure Tiger doesn't gobble, they now have to hide every single bobble.
I had noticed she liked playing with them before, but I never imagined that she was eating them, especially so many.
The motto of the tale, when this tiger comes for tea, it's best to keep it hair bubble free. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Malton.